Welcome to Part 2, where Colorado State climatologist Nolan Doesken continues to explain our long-term weather patterns. To begin, why are there seasonal differences in precipitation?
We've had weather stations in Colorado back to the 1800s, and from that we've watched precipitation patterns year in and year out, and you see these fascinating differences in when precipitation is heaviest and when it is driest in different parts of the state. In Colorado, in the winter, the air masses are coming with the help of the jet stream from the Pacific, and our high mountains and the western slope get more precipitation, and the Front Range and Eastern Plains are on the downhill side. The air is drying, descending, and the moisture has been squeezed out in the mountains. Then as the seasons change, that jet stream weakens, moves northward, then the prevailing winds start coming in more from the south and southeast as you go into the spring, and lo and behold, every now and then we get moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. When that happens, the Front Range and Eastern Plains are on the wettest side. Then as we get into summer, interesting time of year because the winds aloft and the motion of the air masses all slows down. Things are kind of lazy. And when that happens, the local sources of moisture start controlling where the storms occur. During later summer, especially July, August, and early September, the moisture comes up from the south. Then we have what we call the Southwest or North American monsoon. We get afternoon thunderstorms that pop up very easily and sometimes produce a lot of rain. But one part of a town can be wet and another part of the town can be dry because these storms are so small and localized.
To go further, why do some years bring blizzards and others see drought?
There is no doubt that no 2 years are ever the same. Temperatures are more reliable from one year to the next. The difference between a really warm year and a really cold year, averaged over the whole year, is only 2 or 3 degrees Fahrenheit. But when it comes to precipitation, the differences are huge. A dry year, we may only get half of the average, long-term average precipitation. In a very wet year, we could get 150 to 200% of the average. That's a huge variation and makes you appreciate what our water managers have to put up with trying to keep a steady water supply. The drivers are the air masses and the prevailing storm patterns that occur during the different seasons of the year. For example, if the jet stream is a little farther north, due to a number of possible influences such as sea surface temperatures out in the Pacific Ocean, the storm track will carry the storms more north of Colorado and we will end up drier than average during the winter months. Whereas if we have a storm track that is farther south, we will have more frequent and heavy storms in the mountains. Interestingly enough, from northern Colorado to southern Colorado, there's often huge variations. It's very common for our northern mountains to be wet at the same time that the southern mountains are dry, and vice versa. So the patterns that bring us moisture, the storms traveling in the upper level wind patterns, are affected by large-scale global circulations that are a little bit variable. They're not the same every year. Why precipitation is so variable is it's really a few storm systems in any given year at any given location. We're a semi-arid area for most of the state. A few big storms will make the difference between whether you're having a wet year or a dry year.
Our water managers undoubtedly hope for those big storms each year. Here, Nolan Doesken describes some of the many weather extremes in Colorado.
Hardly ever does a year go by without something that stands out. Sometimes it's drought. You look at the past century, the drought of greatest impact, probably the Dust Bowl of the 30s that actually caused many people to have to relocate. But the drought of 2002, in terms of severity of lack of precipitation and hot temperatures, was shorter than the Dust Bowl years, but still for that 1 year, it was incredibly dry. The floods that we've had, considering that we're in a dry location, interior continental location, it's hard to get moisture here, but yet we've had many terrible floods. In fact, almost every decade we have a storm that drops a foot or more of rain somewhere in the state. The cold waves that we've had, we actually can get to 60 below in parts of Colorado, and even on the Front Range, that's pretty extreme. And then of course, hail, tornadoes, windstorms, not that uncommon actually in eastern Colorado, very rare for western Colorado. Oh, snow, we haven't even talked about snow. Can you imagine? Our record is over 6 feet of snow in one day, 76 inches in the mountains west of Boulder up near the crest of the Continental Divide in 24 hours back in 1921. Again, the take-home message is in any decade we're going to face hazards and some extremes that might not be that comfortable.
Thank you for visiting the Colorado Foundation for Water Education. Look for the other Citizens Guide series to learn more about our state's water.